A controls technician day in the life. The honest version. What the actual work looks like across a typical week on the floor of an industrial site. How much of the day is writing rungs versus how much is meetings, change requests, after-hours callbacks, and paperwork. By the end of this video, you will know the realistic breakdown before committing to the path, including the unglamorous parts that the YouTube career videos usually leave out. The first thing to know is that the job has 3 different shapes. A controls technician at a manufacturing plant has a different week from a system integrator on the road. A maintenance-oriented controls technician does mostly diagnostic work and minor program changes. 80% reactive, 20% proactive. A new build controls engineer at a system integrator does mostly commissioning and design. 60% project work, 40% travel. A factory floor lead programmer at a Tier 1 automotive supplier does mostly project management and oversight with occasional hands-on. Same job title. 3 different weeks. Pick which shape you want before signing the offer letter. The morning routine. Walk the floor. Check overnight alarms. Talk to maintenance about anything that broke during shift change. Read the production logs. Identify any trends that need attention later. The first hour is usually diagnostic and conversational. The first useful piece of code rarely gets written before mid-morning. This is a feature, not a bug. The walk-around catches problems before they escalate to production downtime. The conversations build the relationships that make change requests easier later. Junior controls technicians who skip the floor walk and jump straight to the laptop spend more time fighting fires by Wednesday afternoon. Midday is the core work. Rung-writing and program changes occupy roughly 20% of an average week. Sometimes a project month is 80% rung. Sometimes a steady-state maintenance month is 5%. The average evens out around 20 across a quarter. The other 80 is reading drawings, tracing wires, diagnosing intermittent faults, calibrating sensors, updating HMI screens, writing documentation, and explaining things to maintenance. New engineering graduates often expect the ratio to be reversed. That mismatch is the biggest source of disillusionment in the first 6 months on the job. Afternoon meetings. Change request reviews. Engineering change notice sign-offs that take longer to get approved than to write the actual change. Customer calls if you are at an integrator. Vendor support calls if a controller misbehaves in a way that needs Rockwell or Siemens technical support. Cross-functional meetings with mechanical, electrical, and process teams. The afternoon is where the week-to-week scope changes get negotiated. It is rarely the most enjoyable part of the day. It is the part that decides whether the next project is a smooth one or a painful one. Evening commissioning. New machine commissioning often happens after production stops for the day. The line cannot stop for a programmer's convenience. So the programmer fits around the line's schedule. That can mean 16-hour days for a few weeks during a major project ramp. Then quiet weeks where you leave at 4 p.m. sharp because nothing is breaking and nothing is being installed. The variance is real and worth knowing about before you commit. The bonuses paid during commissioning weeks usually compensate. The wear on the rest of life from the spike weeks is harder to compensate. The unglamorous parts. Documentation that nobody reads, but auditors require. ECN paperwork that approves a single coil rename and takes a week of signatures. Vendor support phone trees where the first 3 levels of support cannot help with anything actually complex. After-hours callbacks at 3 a.m. because the night shift broke something and you are the on-call. The always-present politics between operations, maintenance, and engineering. 3 teams with overlapping responsibilities and different priorities. This part is the hardest for engineering school graduates to adjust to. The technical curriculum does not prepare you for it. The senior engineer in your team will, if you ask. The prep you can do before any of this matters is rung muscle memory. Free, in a browser, at plcsimulationsoftware.com. By the time you walk onto a floor for your first day, the latter primitives should be automatic. Then the 80% of the job that is not rung-writing has room to breathe. Next video covers Mitsubishi PLC programming, the 3rd major vendor most engineers learn after Allen Bradley and Siemens. Subscribe, new video every Tuesday. See you in the next one.